contracts. We make contracts with people all the time, and then break them. And I'm not talking about legally binding contracts, where there's an exchange of money, but but usually in contracts there is what they call consideration. There's an exchange. You give, let's say, you give money to somebody in exchange for some sort of service or product. So there is consideration. It's interesting that they use that word in legal contracts, but there should be consideration in the verbal contracts that we make with each other in our relationships. Basically, if you make a contract with someone like your partner says, I really would like it if you would, put the toilet seat down after you've taken a whiz, and and you say, okay, yes, dear, I will do that, and then you don't do it, you're breaking a contract. You've made a contract, and you're breaking the contract. And then I know this is a silly example, but I'm going to keep going with it. So then your wife, let's say, says, "Hey, we made a deal that you said you weren't going to do that, and you're doing that." And then you say, "Well, I only did it like 6 times." It's like, excuse me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you did it a little or a lot. If you say you're not going to do something, or you say you're going to do something, then do it. Do it or don't do it, or change the rules of the contract. So if your partner says to you, "Hey, when you're coming home from work, give me a call and let me know if you're going to be late," and you don't do it. You say, "Yes, I will," and then you don't do it. You're breaking a contract. And you may think these are petty little minor things that that you're doing stuff that's very minor, or once in a while, or you said yes to it, but you thought it was kind of foolish or silly, but you only said yes just to because you didn't want to keep talking about it. If you say yes, I'll do this, or no, I won't do this, stick to it, stick to the contract. Because when you don't, it builds up resentments. If you say to somebody, "I'm going to do something," and then you don't, and you repeatedly don't, then they're feeling attacked, because they feel that there's inconsideration, that you're not being kind, you're not being thoughtful, you're not being loving, and you're not being honest. Ultimately, it is about honesty and integrity. If you say, "I'll do something," and then you don't do it, you've broken the contract, and that's not a good way to be. That's not a good way to live your life. If you don't like the rules, the terms of engagement, the rules of the contract, of the verbal contract that you've made with your partner or somebody else or anybody, then rather than just break the contract, decide, "Nah, I'm not going to do it. I don't feel like it. I shouldn't agree to that in the first place. It's stupid. It's goofy. Whatever. They're wrong. It's not necessary." You need to renegotiate the contract. Okay, you don't just break it, you renegotiate. You say, "Hey, we were talking a few weeks ago about that, and I was trying to do it, and I was doing it, but I'm thinking, I don't want to do it, and I don't think you're really being fair or right. I love you, I want to cooperate with you, I want you to be happy, but I really don't agree that I should do this. That that every night I should come home and you should check my text messages to make sure I'm not on Snapchat or Tinder or something. Whatever your bit is, if you agree to do something, do it. If you don't like, if you have agreed and you don't want to do it anymore, renegotiate the contract. Say, "Hey, I want to change the terms of the contract." And then if the person says no, then okay, then you've got a problem that you've got to try to compromise, and you've got to communicate and work through. Or they may say, "Okay, on second thought, it's not a big deal. Don't sweat the small stuff. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, whatever that means. It's okay. Yes, let's not stick with that contract. Let's do it this way instead." Then that's great. If you hit an obstacle when you say, "No, I don't want to, I want to change the contract," and they say no, and that becomes a deal breaker, then maybe that's a deal breaker, whatever that means. But it's much better to stick to the contracts that you make, rather than just subvert them in some way or be passive aggressive in some way, because that builds up resentments in the other person. And if you love that person or care about the person or care about that relationship, sooner or later that's going to express itself. The relationship is going to break down. There's going to be an undercurrent of resentment and anger and unpleasantness that may be displaced or very directly placed upon you in some other way to make you feel bad. They feel attacked because you broke the contract. They are resentful. Maybe they're passive aggressive. Maybe at some point they're going to stick it to you for something completely innocent that you did. It just makes for bad communication, bad relationships, bad vibes, bad energy. Okay, so if you make any kind of contract, any kind of verbal agreement with somebody that yes, the boundaries have been set. This is really talking about boundaries again, as I talk about a lot. You know, a boundary is a contract. If you do this, then I'll do that. You got to stick to your contracts, stick to your boundaries, stick to your integrity, and that will make your relationships better and your life better. And I think you'll actually save a lot of time, hassle, and weird emotional energy, and everyone will be happier, and someday there'll be world peace. All right.